In the middle of a crowded airport, a trained German Shepherd suddenly went wild, barking, clawing, and crying at an ordinary blue suitcase, as if he knew someone inside was dying. The airport terminal was alive with noise. Wheels rolled across the polished floor. Loudspeakers called out boarding gates, and travelers rushed past without looking at each other. Everything felt normal until Titan stopped. The German Shepherd, calm and disciplined just seconds earlier, froze near the security lane. His ears shot up, his body stiffened, and a low growl rose from deep in his chest. Then, without warning, he lunged toward a blue suitcase resting beside a metal pillar. I share new life stories here every day, and would really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and liked my video. Now let's jump back into my story. I sure you love it if you keep listening till the end. Control your dog. Someone shouted. Titan barked furiously, teeth flashing, scratching at the suitcase like it was an enemy. Security officers reacted instantly, pushing people back and creating a safety circle. Panic spread in seconds. Some passengers screamed, others ducked behind counters. Possible explosive. An officer yelled, but Titan didn't back away. Instead, his barking changed. The aggression melted into something far more disturbing, a broken, desperate whine. He pressed his nose against the suitcase, paws scraping the floor, tail low. Eyes wide with fear and urgency. Officer Marcus Fall stepped forward, studying the dog carefully. He had worked with canine units long enough to recognize patterns. This wasn't a bomb alert. This was different. He's not reacting to danger, Marcus said firmly. He's reacting to life. The bomb squad was placed on standby, but Marcus insisted on a closer inspection. A medical scanner was brought in. Officers watched nervously as it passed over the suitcase again and again. No explosives, the medic confirmed. No electronics either. The crowd murmured in confusion. Titan let out another sharp cry and scratched harder, his claws clicking desperately on the floor. He looked back at Marcus, eyes filled with something that felt almost human fear. Pleading, urgency. Open it, Marcus ordered. Protective gloves were pulled on. The terminal seemed to fall silent as the zipper was slowly unfastened. The sound of metal teeth sliding open echoed. Louder than it should have. A flashlight beam cut into the darkness inside the suitcase. Write in the comments. And tell me which part of the world you're watching this story from. I'm really interested to see how far this story has traveled. Everyone froze. Inside, tightly wrapped in a thin pink blanket, was a small child no more than 2 years old. Her face was pale, lips dry, chest rising in weak, uneven breaths. A collective gasp rippled through the terminal. She's alive, the medic whispered. But barely. Paramedics rushed in, checking her pulse, securing oxygen, warming her tiny body. Every second mattered. The child whimpered softly, too weak to cry. Titan lowered his head and gently nudged the blanket with his nose. He whimpered, soft and broken, as if apologizing for not finding her sooner. He stayed close, refusing to move even as officers tried to guide him back. The stretcher was brought in. The toddler was lifted carefully, like something fragile and sacred. Titan followed, paws patting anxiously beside her. His eyes never leaving her face. Marcus tightened his grip on the leash. His jaw clenched. Someone had packed a living child into a suitcase. Someone had walked calmly through this airport, carrying her like cargo, and that person was still out there. As the ambulance doors slammed shut and sirens began to wail, Marcus knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning. The ambulance disappeared into traffic, its siren fading into the distance, but the silence it left behind inside the airport felt heavier than noise. People slowly returned to their routines, yet nothing felt normal anymore. The blue suitcase lay open on the floor like a confession no one wanted to hear. Marcus stood still for a moment, eyes fixed on the empty blanket inside the suitcase. Titan sat beside him, breathing hard, ears still alert, as if expecting the danger to return. "Lock the terminal," Marcus said suddenly. "No one leaves until we know who brought that suitcase in." Security gates slid down. Officers moved quickly, blocking exits, checking boarding passes, scanning faces. Panic returned, but this time it was controlled, cold, official. Marcus knelt beside Titan and rubbed his neck. "Good job, boy. You saved her." Titan gave a low huff, tail thumping once against the floor, but his eyes remained sharp. He sniffed the suitcase again, then lifted his head, nose twitching. Slowly, he turned toward the crowd. Marcus noticed immediately. "You got something?" he asked. Titan stood up and pulled gently at the leash. "Follow the dog," Marcus ordered. They moved through the terminal, weaving between confused passengers. Titan's nose stayed close to the ground, tracing an invisible line only he could see. Near the coffee shop, he stopped and barked once short and sharp. A woman stood there, frozen. She was in her early 30s, dressed neatly, hair tied back, face calm to calm. A carry-on bag hung from her shoulder. Her boarding pass trembled slightly in her hand. "Ma'am," Marcus said, his voice steady, "I need you to come with us." Her eyes flicked toward the exits, then back to Marcus. "I don't understand. I didn't do anything." Titan growled. The woman stepped back. "Get that dog away from me." Marcus raised a hand. "He doesn't make mistakes." She broke. Tears spilled down her face as her knees gave out. "I didn't want to do it," she cried. "They made me. They said if I didn't carry the suitcase, my own daughter would disappear." The words hit like a punch. Marcus crouched in front of her. "Who is they?" She shook her head violently. "I don't know names. Only voices. Messages, instructions. I was supposed to leave the suitcase near security and walk away. That's all. Where did the child come from?" Marcus demanded. "From a van," she whispered. "Outside the city." There were others. More children. The terminal went quiet again, but this time with horror. Marcus stood and turned to his team. "We're dealing with a trafficking ring." Within minutes, the woman was taken into custody. Surveillance teams rewound hours of footage, tracing the suitcase's path from entrance to checkpoint. Every face was analyzed. Every step recorded. Titan paced restlessly, whining softly, as if his job wasn't finished. Marcus's phone rang. "The child made it," the doctor said on the other end. "She's stable for now." Marcus closed his eyes, letting out a slow breath. "Thank you." Titan nudged his leg, sensing the shift, but relief didn't last long. A new report came in. Another airport, another city. A similar suitcase. Similar method. Marcus looked down at Titan, whose ears were already up. "Body ready." "They're still out there," Marcus said quietly, "and somewhere. Hidden in plain sight. More lives were waiting to be found, door lost." The briefing room lights were dim, but the tension inside was sharp enough to cut through the air. Screens glowed with paused CCTV frame suitcases, blurred faces, timestamps highlighted in red. Marcus stood at the front, arms crossed, while Titan lay at his feet. Alert despite the long hours. "This isn't random," Marcus said, pointing at the screen. "Same type of luggage. Same drop pattern. Same timing. Busy hours. Maximum crowd, minimum attention." An analyst clicked to the next image. "We've confirmed 3 similar cases in the last 6 months. 2 children didn't survive." The room fell silent. Titan lifted his head and let out a low whine, as if he understood. "They use couriers," Marcus continued. "People with something to lose, threats, blackmail, fear. The real handlers never show their faces." A young officer spoke up. "Then how do we reach them?" Marcus looked down at Titan. then back at the team. By doing what they don't expect, we become the bait. Within hours, the operation was approved. A decoy suitcase was prepared identical to the others. Inside wasn't a child, but heat pads, a breathing simulator, and scent samples collected from the rescued toddler's blanket. Titan was trained on the scent immediately. His reaction was instant and intense. The trap was set at a smaller regional airport, less security. Fewer cameras, the kind traffickers thought was safe. Marcus walked the terminal with Titan at his side, blending in as just another officer on duty. Time crawled. Every suitcase looked suspicious. Every face felt wrong. Then Titan stopped, his muscles tensed, nose twitching. He turned sharply toward a man standing near the restroom corridor. Mid-30s baseball cap. Neutral expression. One hand gripping his phone too tightly, Titan growled. Marcus felt it in his gut. That's him. Before they could move, the man started walking fast. Too fast. Stop. Marcus shouted. The man broke into a run. The chase exploded through the terminal. People screamed, scattering as Marcus sprinted after him, Titan pulling hard at the leash, faster than any human. The man shoved through an emergency exit and bolted into the parking structure. Titan was unleashed. He flew forward, barking thunderously, paws slamming against concrete. The man slipped on an oil patch and fell hard. Titan was on him in seconds, teeth inches from his arm, holding without biting. Marcus arrived, breathless, weapon drawn. Don't move. The man laughed, short, bitter. You're too late. What does that mean? Marcus demanded. They've already moved the others, the man said. New routes. New cities. Marcus cuffed him, anger burning behind his eyes. You'll talk. At interrogation, the truth spilled slowly. Warehouses. Fake charities. Overseas buyers. A network designed to erase children before anyone noticed they were gone. But one detail stood out. They don't like dogs, the man said quietly. They think dogs ruin everything. Marcus glanced through the glass at Titan, who sat calmly, tongue out, eyes sharp. You're right, Marcus said. They do. Another call came in, this time from the hospital. The toddler had opened her eyes. She'd reached out, fingers curling weakly around the nurse's hand. And when the nurse asked who she wanted to see, the child whispered one word: dog. Marcus smiled for the first time in days. But the war wasn't over, not even close. The hospital corridor smelled of antiseptic and quiet fear. Machines hummed softly, measuring life in numbers and beeps. Marcus walked slowly, Titan padding beside him, his nails making a faint clicking sound against the floor. Nurses glanced up, surprised, but no one stopped them. Everyone here already knew the story. Inside the pediatric ICU, the toddler lay wrapped in clean white sheets, tiny chest rising more steadily now. Her color had returned just a little. Tubes and wires surrounded her. But she was alive, and that alone felt like a miracle. The moment Titan stepped into the room, her eyes opened. They were large, dark, and tired, but when they landed on the dog, something changed. Her fingers twitched. A soft sound escaped her throat, halfway between a breath and a word. Titan lowered himself carefully and rested his head near the bed, tail wagging slowly, respectfully, as if he understood this wasn't a place for excitement. The child reached out with a trembling hand and touched his ear. A nurse wiped her eyes and turned away. She's been barely responsive, the doctor whispered to Marcus. This is the most movement we've seen. Marcus swallowed. He found her. The doctor nodded. Then maybe he's what she needs. Outside the room, phones were ringing non-stop. News had broken. A child in a suitcase. A dog who saved her. The public wanted answers, names, justice. But inside the ICU, None of that mattered. What mattered was the small hand still gripping Titan's fur hours later. Marcus stood in a temporary command center set up inside the hospital. Maps were pinned to the walls. Names, routes, connections. The man they'd arrested had started talking, but only enough to protect himself. "He's a courier recruiter," an analyst explained. "Low level. He knows locations, not leaders." Marcus clenched his jaw. "Then we go after locations." A new lead came in that night, a warehouse, listed under a children's charity. Donations, smiles, good intentions on the outside. On the inside, something darker. The raid happened before dawn. Police vehicles rolled silently into the industrial area. Lights off, engines low. Titan stood rigid in the back of the unit, sensing the shift. He knew this wasn't routine. This was hunt. The warehouse door was locked, but weak. One breach, and it gave way. The smell hit them first. Fear, sweat. Too many people in too little space. Titan surged forward, barking loudly, his voice echoing through the concrete walls. Officers rushed in behind him. Cages, not animal cages, human ones. Children huddled together, eyes wide, bodies stiff with terror. Some cried. Some didn't make a sound at all. "It's okay," Marcus shouted. "Police, you're safe now." Titan moved through the rows, sniffing, pausing, whining softly, as if counting. Officers worked fast, unlocking cages, lifting children, wrapping them in blankets. A man tried to run. Titan caught him at the back exit, pinning him without biting, growling low and warning. Marcus arrived seconds later and slammed the man to the ground. "Where are the others?" Marcus yelled. The man laughed through bloodied lips. "You think this is all of them?" Marcus didn't answer. He didn't need to. The children were loaded into ambulances, some clinging to officers, some too weak to stand. One small boy reached out and touched Titan's back as he passed. Titan froze, then sat beside him until he was carried away by morning. The warehouse was sealed, evidence tagged. Suspects arrested, but the victory felt incomplete. Back at the hospital, Marcus returned to the ICU. The toddler was awake again, calmer now. When she saw Titan, she smiled, a real smile. Marcus felt something crack open in his chest. "We'll find your family," he whispered. Though he didn't know if that was true. Outside, the sun rose over the city, lighting everything equally good and bad. Rescued and still lost. The network had been hurt, exposed. But it wasn't destroyed, and Marcus knew the next move wouldn't be theirs. It would be the traffickers. The warning came quietly, wrapped in routine paperwork and overlooked alerts, until Marcus noticed the pattern. He stood in the operations room at dawn, coffee untouched, eyes fixed on a blinking map. 3 dots appeared overnight. 3 cities. 3 airports. Titan sat beside him, head tilted, as if waiting for the order that would explain the tension in the room. "They're retaliating," Marcus said, voice low, moving faster. Smaller drops. More couriers. The team gathered. Screens filled with live feeds. Analysts spoke in clipped sentences. A familiar fear crept in, the kind that came from knowing you were always one step behind. A message arrived on an untraceable channel. No sender. No return. Stop the dog or the children disappear. The room went silent. They know about Titan. An officer whispered. Marcus felt heat rise behind his eyes. Good. Then they know what we're capable of. By midday, the toddler's condition had improved enough to move her out of ICU. Social services prepared a temporary foster placement. She clutched a stuffed dog someone had brought her. Refusing to let go, Marcus watched from the doorway as Titan lay on the floor beside her bed. Protective, calm. For the first time, the child slept without nightmares. That night, the attack came. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. A vehicle rammed into the side of the K-9 transport unit as it left the hospital garage. Metal screamed. Glass shattered. The world spun. Marcus crawled out of the wreckage, ears ringing, heart pounding. "Titan!" He shouted. The back door hung open. The leash lay on the ground. Titan was gone. Panic hit harder than any impact. Officers swarmed the area. Roads were locked down. Helicopters lifted into the air. But the city was too big. Too many places to hide. A video arrived an hour later. Titan sat in a dim room, unharmed but restrained. A voice spoke from the darkness. "You interfere again," the voice said calmly, "and the dog dies." Then the children follow. Marcus slammed his fist into the wall. The room shook with anger and fear. Titan wasn't just a tool. He was family. And the traffickers knew exactly what they were doing. Negotiation wasn't an option. Marcus studied the video frame by frame. A flickering light, a distant train horn, a peeling logo on the wall behind Titan. "Rail yard," Marcus said suddenly. "Old freight district." The team mobilized immediately. They arrived under cover of night, moving between rusted cars and abandoned buildings. Every step felt like walking on a knife edge. One wrong move, and Titan was dead. A signal, a door cracked open. Marcus went in first. The room smelled of oil and dust. Titan lay in the center, restrained but alert. His eyes locked onto Marcus instantly. His tail thumped once against the floor. Men stepped out from the shadows, too. Gunfire erupted. Chaos exploded in the confined space. Marcus dropped, firing back. Shouts echoed. Someone screamed. Titan broke free. He moved like lightning, dodging, barking, disarming. Not attacking to kill, but to stop. To protect. Marcus tackled the last man as sirens approached in the distance. Silence followed. Titan ran straight to Marcus, pressing his head into his chest, whining softly. Marcus wrapped his arms around him, breathing hard, eyes burning. "It's over," Marcus whispered. "I've got you." But deep down, he knew it wasn't, because as officers secured the scene, a phone buzzed on the floor. One last message blinked on the screen. "Final. Transfer. 24 hours." Marcus looked at Titan. The clock had started. Asterisk, the countdown felt louder than any siren. 24 hours. Marcus stood in the command room, staring at the message again, as if it might change if he looked hard enough. Titan sat beside him, calm but alert, sensing the weight in the air. The traffickers had lost warehouses, couriers, routes, but they were about to make one last move. And this time, they weren't hiding. "They want us to chase," Marcus said. "Which means wherever this final transfer happens, that's where everything ends." Analysts worked non-stop, tracing patterns, cross-checking old data. Ports, borders, abandoned airstrips. Then one junior officer spoke up, hesitant. "There's one place that fits every variable," she said. "Old cargo terminal near the coast. Shut down after flooding. No cameras. Easy access to water and air routes." Marcus nodded slowly. They planned to disappear. By nightfall, the operation was ready. Rain began to fall as police units moved in without lights, tires crunching over wet gravel. The cargo terminal loomed ahead, half-collapsed, dark, silent. Too silent. Marcus unclipped Titan's leash. "You lead," he whispered. Titan surged forward, nose low, body tense. The smell was strong now. Fear, fuel, salt water. Children were here. Inside, the building opened into a massive hangar. Dim bulbs flickered overhead. In the center stood a truck engine running. Near it, crates. Not suitcases this time. Crates with holes punched into the sides. A shout rang out. Police. Gunfire erupted instantly. Marcus dove behind concrete barriers as bullets sparked off metal. Officers returned fire. Titan ran, not toward the shooters, but toward the crates. "Titan, wait!" Marcus yelled. But the dog didn't stop. He leaped onto the truck, barking furiously, snapping at a man climbing into the driver's seat. The man panicked, lost balance, and fell hard. The engine stalled. Inside the crates, children cried. The fight ended fast after that. Surrounded, overpowered. The traffickers dropped their weapons one by one. Silence returned, broken only by sobbing. Officers rushed to the crates, prying them open. Children spilled out into arms and blankets, shaking, terrified, alive. Marcus found himself frozen for a moment, watching Titan sit in the center of it all. Chest heaving, eyes scanning, making sure every child was accounted for. Then a sound cut through everything. A small voice. "Dog?" Marcus turned. The toddler from the suitcase stood there, wrapped in a jacket far too big for her, holding a nurse's hand. Social services had insisted she stay away, but she had fought, screamed, refused. The moment Titan saw her, his entire body relaxed. She let go of the nurse and toddled forward, unsteady, but determined. Titan lowered himself immediately, tail wagging softly. She fell into his fur, hugging his neck like she'd been holding on to that moment since the day she was found. Marcus felt his throat close. This was why they fought. Sirens approached from every direction now. Media would come later. Reports, trials, headlines. But in that moment, none of it mattered. The network was finished. Leaders arrested. Roots exposed. Buyers identified. The final transfer had become their final mistake. Weeks later, the airport felt normal again, but Marcus knew better. Titan was back on duty, though now people recognized him. Children waved. Parents stopped to thank him. He accepted it all with quiet dignity. The toddler was placed with a foster family while authorities searched for relatives. She carried a stuffed German Shepherd everywhere she went. She called it Titan. On a quiet afternoon, Marcus watched Titan sit near the terminal window, sunlight warming his back. "You saved a lot of lives," Marcus said softly. Titan looked up at him, ears relaxed, eyes calm. He hadn't done it for praise, or medals, or headlines. He'd done it because someone needed help. And he heard the call when no one else did. The end. If you like this story, hit subscribe and like my video. I share new stories every day.